Okay, you know how spiritual people will be like, the hard things in life, are the best thing that ever happened to you or to me or whatever can happen. Um, yeah, it's maybe true, which is crazy to say, because it goes against everything. Like for me, thought when I was younger. Um, Obviously, what we're always like told to think. Um, I'll give you the kind of quick version. For me, one of the things was having a brain tumor. Um, the kitties always make noise at the most important parts. um, yeah, I had a brain tumor. An acoustic neuroma, it's called. Uh, Grows on your vestibular nerve, like your balance nerve, around the hearing stuff, facial movement nerves, and things like that. You might have noticed I don't blink the same in both my eyes. This one blinks normally, this one does not. That's because half my face doesn't move. Uh, you could say the way I want it to, the way that it once did. And I can't hear in this ear, also. Um, yeah, this happened, you know, probably this tumor started growing when I was like 5 years old, between 5 and 10 years old, so a young child. And it was taken out when I was 21. So it was my like companion for a while, and it was about the size of a golf ball when it was taken out. Um, and before it was taken out, everything was cool. Everything was fine. I was a good-looking dude. Some would have said, uh, you know, physically active, run around, play basketball, do whatever. And then overnight, they took this thing out, the amazing surgeons. Um, and I woke up, I don't know, in intensive care. I'll just give you the quick version. Intensive care unit, with an insane headache, and along with lots of other problems, not being able to move half my face at all. So just, be doing whatever, trying to talking, doing whatever, and only this side would move. Um, and I didn't look in a mirror for like days because I was in the, ICU for a couple days, and then my own, room. I remember when I was alone in the bathroom, like able to sort of stand for the first time there and looking in the mirror. And I remember what I said to myself because I saw myself. I just said, Jesus Christ. That's it. That's all I said. Um, and I remember I just thought that I looked like an escaped, mental patient. Like, it was so weird. I looked wild and a little bit like, Two-Face, that guy, from Batman, right? It was insane. So that's the short version. I'm sure I'll talk a lot more about it because that event gives great examples of sort of things that I like to talk about. It's a great illustration of things because my reactions around this were exactly what they were kind of like what how I was trained to react to essentially trauma, because this is hands down obviously trauma. It's like physical trauma, head injury, brain trauma, but more importantly, I would say psychological trauma, identity trauma, because this messed me up. And I was 21, and at 21, there's lots of things going on in life. And the way that I handled it was the way that I could. And that was what I was able to do. What I knew how to do was to shut it down. I mean, it is insane. The strength of my ability to wall something off from my experience, to not feel it, to not experience it. I did not cry once. Even though my life had been, changed. Even though how I perceived myself was, was crushed. Things were taken away from me, you could say. And it had nothing to do with anything. Who are you going to blame for this? Not my parents, who I like to blame for stuff. not even myself, who I like to blame for stuff. Who are you going to blame for this? This is a tumor deciding to grow in your head when you're 5. Well, you can't blame anybody for it. God. You can blame God. You can blame... I remember... I didn't do it so much, but... my parents sure did. Trying to find out why this happened to me. Or think about that. Reason it out. Maybe I was exposed to something or other when I was young. So how on earth is this good? How is this a good thing? Well, because it broke a little bit the farce, let's call it, unreality. It broke it. And for the rest of my life since then, it is visible on my face. It is perceptible, perceivable in my hearing, in my experience. It is there always. And it is, I can't fool myself unless I get really delusional, which I have done for sure, that I am somehow immortal, that I am perfect, that I am, got a lot of life ahead of me, I got loads of time. It also lets you see that you have stuff. So, oh my God, this woman at the hospital, before I had surgery, everything totally fine still. Face totally fine. Hearing slightly diminished here. That was my, one of the symptoms. And the huge headache in my head. I go to her, she says, she's the surgeon's assistant, knows everything. I go to her, what if the hearing doesn't come back? What if the hearing gets lost during surgery like you're telling me it could? And it doesn't come back. So I actually voiced kind of like a fear. And she said, she was like, you have another one. You have another ear. And she said it kind of like that, like, dude, you're still going to be able to hear. AKA, implied in that was, there are people who can't move anymore after brain surgery. There are people who die. There are people who have it much worse. But I remember being shocked at that answer. How could I ever be okay with having one ear for the rest of my life? You know what I mean? But it turns out, many years later, I can be okay with one ear. So far. And you know what? I love my one ear. Because if I didn't have that one, then I would have no ears, which is a little bit different. So, I think just a little taste of that funny thing that we hear often. You know, some bad thing happens, turns out to be a blessing. This was really bad when I look back on it. It was very hard, difficult, and I dealt with it the way that I could. And it helped me. It helped me get to what's important, what I think now is important, what I see now is important. Back then I would have been like, what the heck is good about this? So I thought I'd get the brain tumor a little bit out of the way, or at least started, because it's a major thing that happened to me.